what types of activities should we be doing every single day that you found to be useful in optimizing the metabolism?
Well, the first thing I sort of want to share is an explanation of what is metabolism, because I think this is a term that everyone thinks they know something about, but I'm telling you, there's a new science of the metabolism that is changing the way that we understand everything. And it's so new that some of the information is less than 2 years old. The old textbooks are still being ripped up and thrown out the window. The new ones haven't even been written yet. So we're talking about some real cutting edge stuff. The first point is that our metabolism, as a scientist, I could throw a lot of very, very complicated scientific terms at you, but I'm not going to do it. Your metabolism is your body system to be able to use fuel in your body to run your body's engines. Just like if you have a car and you have an engine that makes the car run, you have to put fuel into the car, okay, in order to be able to run that engine. So in a car, when you're driving and you look at the fuel gauge and the tank is running low, what do? You pull over to the gas station and you pull out and fill up the tank. When the tank is full, the nozzle clicks, put it back, and then you drive off. Our body is the same way. When our engines are running, it's our metabolism, how to use that energy and fuel. When our fuel tank runs low, our fuel gauge runs low, it's in our brain. And it's hardwired in our muscles and our organs. When it runs low, what do? We don't go to a filling station. We pull over to the dinner table. We pull over to the restaurant. We pull over to the snack bar, to the refrigerator, to the pantry. All right. And what are we doing? We are actually getting fuel. So just like fueling up your car. So when we actually pick up fuel to put into our body, think about the analogy I just gave you with the car and fuel. Good quality fuel that you put into your car, your gas tank, is going to make your engine run a lot longer. Your car could take a low quality gas once or twice, when you're filling, that's all that's available, right? To get you back on the road. But if you actually continuously put low quality fuel, crappy quality fuel, and you started to have contaminated gasoline into that fuel, whether it's contaminated with chemicals or sugar or whatever else it is, you will actually destroy your engine over time. Same deal when it comes to food in our engine. Our food is our fuel, our body, our metabolism runs that energy, and the quality makes all the difference in the world. Now, I want to talk about some specific foods that help our metabolism run really, really well. But in addition to one way that I want to say about how do we wreck our metabolism, okay, is just using the same analogy as the gas station. Now, imagine you pull up to the filling station with your car and you put the nozzle in your gas tank. The gas tank is full, and normally the nozzle clicks when the gas tank is full, and it's not going to fill anymore. No more gas comes out, and you pull it out and you're good to go. Our body doesn't have a clicker. So when we sit down to put fuel in our body, and you say overeating, all right, that's what we're doing. Where there's no clicker, we're just continuing to shove food into our body. Now, what happens when you're actually at a filling station if your gas tank were to overflow? All right, it would run down the side, out of the tank, down the side of the car, around the wheels. It would pool around your feet, and you'd be standing in this flammable, toxic, dangerous mess, right? And you would hope that you'd have to walk away and the air would evaporate the gasoline, right? Now, we don't have the same luxury when we eat. When we eat and we overeat, what we're doing is we are overloading the tanks in our body, and our body has to put that extra fuel somewhere. It can't evaporate. So what our body does is it takes extra fuel and it stuffs it into our fat cells. Our fat cells are normal fuel tanks, all right? So when we eat, we're using the energy. Anything extra gets stored into little fat cells. Fat cells get bigger, 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 all right? And then if you're eating normal amounts, it'll store some extra energy. Then when you're done eating, it'll burn down that fuel. Now, if you actually continuously overload the gas tank, you're going to fill up that fat fuel tank. It's going to be blisteringly big, like a water balloon. And then guess what? Your body says, we still got more fuel. You overate. Now you got to make more fat cells, fuel tanks, and it's going to fill those up. And that gets filled up. Now you got to make another one, and it's going to fill up. And now you kind of see why putting too much fuel in our body causes us to actually gain extra body fat. That extra body fat is like a toxic mess that are standing in that gasoline, that overflowed gas tank is like. It's flammable. It's inflammation, which is like flame inside our body. That sets us up for a big problem. The good news about that is we can actually eat less. So being mindful that that's how our body works. You eat less is really, really helpful. So I always tell people stop eating when you feel satisfied, but before you feel full. And if you eat slower, your stomach will text message your brain to tell you like when it's actually naturally full. The other thing you can do that would be incredibly important to actually keep your metabolism going well is not to eat too close to bedtime and not to eat too close to getting up in the morning. Because when we are actually eating food, there's a hormone called insulin that our pancreas, our body produces, and insulin works to draw that food fuel as energy into our cells. That's what insulin does, all right? And when our insulin is up, it's the signal in our body is our metabolisms that store the fuel, baby. Don't burn it, store it. We want to gobble it all up and pack it away. All right, it's like ammo for energy. When our insulin is down, which is when we're not eating, our metabolism shifts gears and says, all right, time to tap into the fuel. So if you want to burn that extra fuel that's stored in your tanks, which is your fat cells, you might have extra fat from overeating yesterday or overeating the last week or the last month or from the holidays, whatever it is, your celebration, all right? The fact is that your body is actually hardwired to burn that down, but it only burns it down when you are not eating because the insulin goes down and your metabolism shifts gears to actually be in fat burning mode. This happens when we're sleeping, naturally, by the way. And when we're sleeping, we're not eating. By the way, another name for that is fasting, which is why when we get up in the morning and we have our coffee and our eggs or whatever, it's called breakfast. Breakfast is breaking your overnight fast, break fast, all right? And so what you hear about intermittent fasting isn't just a trend, isn't kind of like this crazy, new way of actually living your life. It's how our body's hardwired to do it every single day. When you're sleeping, you're fasting. When you're fasting, your insulin's down. When your insulin's down, your metabolism goes, shoop, let's go ahead and start burning down extra fuel. All right. So if you don't eat too close to bedtime, like when you stop eating, okay, let's say you go to bed at 11 and you get up at 7 in the morning. That's 8 hours of sleep. I strongly recommend that as a generally good, optimal amount of time of sleep to get. Cleans your brain, it gets rid of the toxins, it actually resets your immune system, all kinds of things. It calms stress, lowers inflammation, good quality 8 hours of sleep. Now, let's say that you eat dinner, so you go to bed from 11 and get up at 7, 8 hours. Let's say that you eat dinner at 7 o'clock in the evening, all right? And for most people, let's say that you finish eating at around 8, an hour later, you put their dishes away in the sink at 8 o'clock, all right? Now, how many of us actually eat a little snack later? We go for some dessert. We're before bedtime. I got to eat one more thing. All right. Don't want to do that because every time you do that close to bedtime, you're spiking your insulin. When the insulin goes up, your metabolism isn't able to burn fat. If you stop eating when you put your dishes in the sink, so let's say that you eat dinner at 7, you stop eating at 8, put your dishes in the sink, no more food. That's it. Okay, you'll get used to it. It'll be cool. Don't worry. All right. And you go to bed at 11. From 8 to 11, you've given your body 3 extra hours. You've given your metabolism the gift of 3 extra hours to burn down that extra fuel that's gotten stuck and trapped in your body. And if you get up at 7 in the morning, rather than roll out of bed and do what our mommies told us to do when we were kids, hurry up and eat breakfast so you can get on the school bus and go to school on time. All right. If you get up instead, let's say it's 7. Take a shower, get dressed, check your emails, read a book, read a newspaper, whatever it is you're going to do, go for a walk. An hour later, you sit and have a breakfast. You've given your body, your metabolism, the gift of an extra hour in the morning that you burn down fuel. So let's do some math. 3 hours after the dishes are in the sink before bedtime, plus 8 hours of sleeping time, that's 11 hours, plus 1 extra hour before you actually sit down and eat breakfast. It's reasonable to do. Anybody can actually do that, honestly. But do the math, 3 plus 8 plus 1. Now it's 12 hours. You've given your body 50% of your life is spent towards streamlining your metabolism by burning down that extra body fat. That's how you allow your inner metabolism to start to rise to the surface. So without actually having to even go on any kind of crazy diet, any fads, any elimination, you can just kind of use that timing and of course the amount to eat, like always leave some white space on your plate. Don't go back for seconds, and quit the clean plate club. That's a way before we even talk about what are some good choices to add, that you can actually use your body to fight on your behalf.
I love that explanation. And it just seems like the main thing somebody can do to improve the function of their metabolism is to lose excess body fat. And the best way to do that without necessarily going on a specific diet or focusing on specific foods is to just eat less than you are now, and finding creative ways to do that. One of them being almost like the time restricted feeding window, like you said, almost like you don't eat past a certain time, you eat like an hour after you get up or something like that.
In my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet, I call it, once you realize what time you finish dinner and what time you eat breakfast, you can set your own, it's like an alarm on your watch or your phone. You can set the time you're going to open your eating window in the morning, okay? And you can set what time you're going to close the eating window, so you're not going to eat anymore, right? And you can even set an alarm on your phone if you need a reminder. But actually, if you realize that the time that you're not eating after you put the dishes away, your body's actually starting to shift into gear to start to streamline your metabolism. That's kind of an awareness. You can't unlearn that. Like once you hear that, then next time you actually reach for that brownie or that piece of cake or whatever it is, bag of chips, like some voice in your head is going to say, wait a minute. I don't want to be interfering with my body right now. My body actually wants to do something. Another part of your brain might be saying, go ahead and eat it, right? That's the angel and the devil kind of on both shoulders warring with your brain. But again, this is where I think by understanding what your goals are, you realize that your body wants to help you. It's trying to help you. It's there for you, man. Like it's got your back. And so by putting that in your head, it's an easy thing. Now you want to take that to the next level. And this is what I read about in my new book, Eat to Beat Your Diet. What's really cool is that during the time you're eating, it turns out that food doesn't always grow fat. In fact, the research has shown some foods actually, during the day, even when your insulin is up, some foods will actually cause your body to fight extra body fat and streamline your metabolism while you're eating. So just now, before I was telling you, when insulin is up, when you're eating, your body's metabolism is all about storing the food and not burning it. And when you're not eating and your insulin's down, it'll actually start to burn the fuel. There's an exception to that rule, and that's if you choose. And I wrote about 150 different foods proven by human studies, research studies, that when you eat them in moderation, these foods and the natural chemicals contained in them will fire up your metabolism so you can eat to lose and burn down extra body fat so you can streamline your metabolism. That to me is a really amazing thing because it's good news. You can choose foods. I mean, who would have thought you can eat foods to lose weight? Doesn't make sense, right? Yes, it does. The science teaches us and the clinical studies show us it can be actually done.